Let's transition. We're going live. Here we go. Ooh, you guys look beautiful.
We've gone live.
We're live. People are watching.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the St. Louis Realtor podcast live from the basements and offices of Adam Cruz and Shannon St. Pierre.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, we're super excited to be here today. We're going to kind of talk about, a lot of real estate related, coronavirus related real estate topics. So today we're going to get into the two biggest questions that we're getting from people. We're going to get into the details about those topics. We're going to talk about what we think realtors should be doing during this time. And I'd like to share a little bit about what Hermann London, the company, what our company is doing kind of in response to this issue. So we've been doing a ton of Zoom calls, first of all, with our agents to keep them informed and motivated. We're really using Zoom to kind of build that sense of community that I think people are missing now that they're stuck at home. And Zoom, we become Zoom experts all of a sudden because we're doing a daily call with the agents and we're just talking literally about all the different issues that are coming up for people, crazy situations that we never expected or planned for. And we're working together really well as a group to find solutions and make plans and how to handle things. Some of the things that we're really glad that we have already that's been working for us is in terms of file review. We've been paperless for a long time, but it's really working great for people to be able to turn in their contracts, turn in their deals. We review them, and the agents are able to access them and that kind of thing. We are finding our direct deposit to the agent's account to be more popular. So if a commission check comes into the office, we can pay the agent and they can get their money that day without having to come to the office and get their check and go to the bank and all that kind of stuff. We've had that functionality for a long time, but people are actually starting to take us up on it. We're excited that we have Joey, everyone knows podcast producer Joey Vosevich, and he now works with us full time. And so he's been a big part of our agents, helping our agents to make sure that they know how to do a virtual tour or a video, and then helping them to edit them and make them a little bit better to watch, and helping us come up with different social media campaigns and different methods we're using to reach out to everybody. For our clients, we all have the e-signature capability. Most of us use Docusign, but this whole social distancing thing is not affected by our ability to sign contracts and do documentation through e-signatures. We're really encouraging our agents to take what we call a high-tech and high-touch approach. We've been talking about that for years. We're using tech like the e-signatures and like these Zoom calls and all that stuff, but we're asking our agents to really reach out to their people, their friends, their family, of course, their clients, their past clients, people in their community. We're, of course, staying in touch with all of the vendors that we work with, title companies, lenders, inspectors, appraisals, all that kind of thing. And so we're taking what we call a high-tech, high-touch approach. And then a lot of our agents, the response that shouldn't have surprised me, but they were really reaching out saying, what can we do? How can we help? And I think that we're seeing that a lot in the communities in general. But so our agents are wanting to help other people. And so they're joining groups like MapleGood, if you've heard of that, and others to see what we can do, whether we can give money, whether we can give supplies, whether we can give our time. Some people are driving around donating supplies to people or hospitals. We printed a bunch of flyers that people are delivering around Maplewood to get the word out about this MapleGood group and things like that. It's been interesting, hasn't it, Shannon?
It's been very interesting. And I think the bottom line, though, going forward with this podcast is that we're still in business and we're still all working. So the agents are working, the title companies are working, the banks are still there. So everything's still, open for business.
Yeah, so we're taking these like extreme approaches to what would generally have been normal activities before, like showing property and that kind of stuff. But well, I'm going to get into some of those details.
Right.
We're super excited when the that essential businesses information came out from St. Louis County, and then the St. Louis Association of Realtors had their attorneys write us all a letter saying that they do consider real estate and realtors to be considered an essential business. So we were excited about that because we were worried for ourselves, we were worried for our clients, and we were just kind of wondering how things were going to work. And so when that came out, that helped calm a lot of us, I think. So Shannon, what is one of the biggest questions that we're getting now? I said that we're going to talk about the two biggest issues that are coming out. You've got the first one there. What's the biggest question we're getting?
Should I list or should I wait?
So we're hearing from our sellers and they're saying that, and I'm going, what kind of a loaded question is that?
Right, but they all are asking it. There isn't one that hasn't contemplated with the new situation. So it is a conversation and it is a loaded question because it's not a yes or no, right?
Right, and yeah, and just like everything, it's a little bit complicated, and there's variables that come into play. For example, are they living there, or is there a tenant living there? Is the property vacant? If they are living there, are they willing to let people come through their house? Are they willing to, clean their house, spray down and wipe down the house after people leave? And so I guess we have to talk to each seller on a case-by-case basis. But in general, my answer has pretty much been list. Because what we found is that there's still a lot of activity going on, and there's still a lot of people out looking at properties. And I don't think we're so worried about days on market. A lot of people are worried about days on market. I don't think that days on market is going to be that big of a deal. People aren't going to say, oh, it's been on the market for 30 days. There must be a problem. I think that it's obvious that the problem is the coronavirus, not necessarily the property at this point.
Right. Yeah, I think that's actually really true. I hadn't really thought about that too much, but I don't think days on market's going to be something that people really ask necessarily or consider when looking at a home as much as they have in the past.
Yeah. So when we do, we kind of want to take a responsible approach to this if we're going to list somebody's property and let people come through it. So some of the things that we're doing is we're sending notice to any realtor that is coming through the property about asking them to minimize the amount of people who come, asking them, of course, to minimize what they touch. People are bringing wipes, or we're providing wipes and gloves and all that kind of stuff. I did a showing this morning and the people had masks on. We're working with ShowingTime, not just us, but the realtors in general are working with this app solution called ShowingTime, which is how we schedule the appointments. And it's really limiting the amount of showings that happen at a time to one group. So before, where we could schedule an appointment, and if there was someone else there or whatever, we would just kind of storm on in and say, realtors, how you doing? We're here to see the house too. But now
right. So they would allow in the past overlapping appointments. So me and you as two separate realtors could make appointments at the same time or overlapping that time frame of somehow. And it was allowed. And so a lot of realtors are backing out, and they're not only backing out of that one showing at a time frame, but they're limiting the showing, especially if it's vacant, it's not so much of an issue. If it's occupied, they're limiting it to maybe a 30-minute window, where normally we're asking for anywhere from 45 to an hour minimum window time frame.
Yep. And what my experience has been that the people are being respectful. Like I said, I was showing a house this morning, and when I was going to leave, I noticed there was people outside waiting. So they must have realized that I was in there, and they waited outside. They didn't come in and get in my personal space.
So another realtor?
That was another realtor and his clients. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very good.
Yeah. But, does a seller have to allow for showings? No, of course they don't have to do anything. It's their house. I've got a seller, we're going to go live here in a few days, and they're saying we are cool with showings, with kind of the restrictions that you and I just talked about, Shannon, but they're saying we don't want any open houses. And I'm going, that's fine, because we're not going to do an open house anyway, at least not a live or, in-person open house. We'll go virtual.
Yeah, I feel like that an open house is too hard to control because they don't want groups of more than 10, which it could be easy, but it's also, there's times at open houses that you get an influx of people and it's not, it's hard to control, not to mention just the chaos of it, of everything. So,
Yeah.
but to back to the point of the video walkthrough that a lot of agents are doing, I think is it's just a really great approach to and an alternative to the open house at this point, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you mentioned the groups of 10, if that's the current rule, I don't know, but everyone's still kind of like, get away from me.
Well, it's groups of 10, according to the document that's sent out by the city and the county,
Okay.
but you still have to maintain distancing of 6 feet.
Okay. And then the other thing that's interesting is, yeah, we are doing all these like all this kind of stuff, which, our goals in the past was always, let's get as many people as we can to the property. We want them to come, we want them to see the house, and we want them to fall in love. And so now we're saying, we want you to see everything we can show you about the house before you come. And only if you're still in love, then we want you to come. And so it's kind of been interesting to see how it's changed. Hey, here's a great example of somebody working from home.
Yes. So we're all trying to compromise with the stay-at-home order, right?
Exactly.
So all the kids are out of school, and so we're here trying to juggle a few different things.
It happens. Perfect. And then lastly, kind of about the should I list or should I wait thing, I just wanted to mention that we do have, as realtors, we were excited that the Missouri Association of Realtors came out with a form where we can notify our sellers of the virus as if they haven't heard about it, but they get to choose. It's their choice if they want to have people come through or not. So I've been super impressed with the local Realtor Association, and then really the national and the state association, but the local and the state association have kind of quickly created all of these perfect forms for us, and that's been awesome. So
yes,
let's see, Shannon, we already sort of half answered this one, but I've got a lot to say about it. So tell me, what is the next big question that everyone's asking?
in regards to buyers, are buyers still looking?
Are buyers still looking at houses?
Yes.
And I believe the answer is yes.
Yes, yes, yes. And so you're seeing, I think, examples of this in terms of still sellers getting multiple offers. And we've had a couple agents kind of state the same thing, that it doesn't seem to have slowed down.
Right. Yeah. And we're still, I think that the statistics probably haven't caught up enough for us to be able to say, well, we're seeing multiple offers and this price range, but anything over 300 or is slowing down or whatever. We haven't had enough time, in my opinion, to really be able to study that kind of data. But I can say that in general, we're still seeing people showing properties. And, for one of my clients, we submitted an offer on a property 2 days ago, and there's multiple offers. And so that's just kind of the way the market is going, I guess. In my opinion, there's buyers out there who are not able to buy now because they've been furloughed or laid off or whatever. So they're kind of on the sidelines until they can get their jobs back. There's some buyers who are waiting because they're just like, gross, I don't want to be out amongst the people. I'm staying at home, right? And some of those are waiting.
Right.
But
Right.
the ones who are still out looking, those people, in my perspective, are so serious. You have to be really, really serious about buying a house right now if you're actually going to go out and look, right? And you're going to
Right. And so you made a great point. Like when we were talking earlier to this, I mean, there are still buyers, but the ones going out and looking at your house and the houses on the market are very serious.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not, sometimes we have people that are like, I just like looking at houses, or, I'm considering.
Or let's just go ahead and go look at this one. It's probably not an option, but just think, we'll just look at it too.
Right, exactly.
They really are truly honing in, which is why I think it's more important than ever to really do some really great photography, so that you can showcase the house in the best possible way. If you have a seller as an agent, you want to make sure you're doing really great photos to just showcase every corner of the house, and maybe just a few more than what we normally do, so that buyers can kind of eliminate it and not interrupt the seller if they're still there, or and they can add it to the list, and if it's a true possibility. Because I think it's a maybe, they're not really looking at them. They're really honing in on the ones they're super serious about.
For sure. And so we're seeing a lot of agents that are doing video tours and live tours and these Matterport tours and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things is that the video technology has been there for years and years. But what has never really caught up is sites like Realtor.com and Zillow and them really showing the videos that we're making in a good way. The kind of the link to the video has always been sort of hidden. And
yeah, that's for sure.
Right. And so a lot of agents are doing them now. And so what the approach that I've been taking is my favorite approach, which is to communicate with the agents, and so call them and ask if they've done any sort of video tour or whatever. And a lot of them have. And so realtors are having to find creative ways to sort of get those videos out there other than just posting it on their Facebook, and so we're putting it, for example, in the MLS agent remarks link to the video. We're putting it in the kind of the field where generally we used to notate when there was an open house and you can make little comments. We're putting the video link in that open house comments section and kind of that feed places. We're doing whatever we can, and all of these little details are all things that we've had to figure out in the last few days. And that's where like our daily company Zoom calls have been so helpful. Our company's property search site, wizah.com, WIZAH.com.
Yes.
Been awesome because the company that like makes the functionality of that, they jumped on this and they added a button now where anybody can ask for a virtual tour. So if someone
comes, that's right. Yes.
They go to wizah.com. Now they can request a virtual tour. That request will come to us. And if you're someone who's qualified or someone that we've taught, that we're comfortable spending the time to do this on, our agents are willing to go to the house, our listing, go to the house, take a video or do a Facebook Live video with them and send it to them. So the buyers can kind of get those videos that they want, again, without having to leave their house.
I think that's awesome, by the way. I think that's creative. I've been super impressed just all the way around, not with just our industry and some of the things, which we'll talk about in a second, even like the forms, the St. Louis Realtor Association.
Yeah.
Whipped up forms in no time at all. But the way that business is being done in general, and how companies are accommodating and adjusting to this new way of life for us right now. Totally. It's been really interesting. I think it's been awesome. People are really thinking outside the box and stepping up. I think a lot of companies do some really cool things.
Yeah, I believe that a lot of people are seeing this as kind of a fight or flight situation, sink or swim, whatever. And sort of this fear of what's going to happen to our businesses is what's driving all of this sort of like reconnection, re-engagement, and innovation that we're kind of doing right now.
It's wild.
Yeah. So mentioned about on Wizah too, we've added another button on our property search site where you can click to make an offer. So we've had this functionality for a while on HermannLondon.com where you can go to the site, you can come to our website, you can enter in your information, and then it asks you a bunch of questions about kind of the details of the offer that you want to make, and you can sign and submit an offer electronically without having to meet with, wait for anybody at all. So we've had that functionality built out for a while, but we're kind of like, who's going to use that without seeing the house? We thought maybe.
Well, people have been using it on the website.
Some people have been using it.
But it's been mainly geared towards investment properties.
Yeah. But now that people are getting used to virtual tours and stuff like that, it might become a much more popular part of our site. We'll see.
I think it's a great option.
I love it. Okay, so
So that's on Wizza now too?
that's on Wizard too on every property. Yeah, it's not the prettiest button, but it says like
Hey, it's there. It's a button.
it's there, it functions. And it feeds their, the person on Wizard is signed in generally, so it feeds their name and all that kind of stuff through. All right, let's see. The other big, so those first two questions were the questions that the sellers and the public has been asking us, but a lot of the agents were asking these questions about about our timelines. And so the big one was about occupancy inspections and what are we going to do about those? And so because the municipalities are handling occupancies differently and they weren't necessarily able to get there to do the occupancy inspections on time. And so we were kind of trying to figure out how to do that. And the Association of Realtors came out with a form that's perfect for that situation.
Right. Again, which is what I was saying. I kind of impressed. They came out with these last week.
Yeah.
I mean, so before everything kind of shut down, they actually came out with these last week.
Right.
Even.
And then the other one was an amendment, we call it the COVID amendment for, it's basically saying, we don't know what's going to happen if the title companies and all that kind of stuff are going to close down. So we're adding this to any contracts that we have in place that's saying there's going to be uncertainty and essentially kind of we'll work together on the timelines for things if we have to. And then the second part of that form that's applicable is it's essentially in some ways like removing the loan contingency date, because it's saying if we've hit the loan contingency date, then after that between loan contingency and closing, if the buyer, loses their job or has a loss of income or whatever, that will either be that the seller in general will be willing to kind of extend things or end the deal and return the earnest money to the buyer, because it's kind of like a fault of buyer. It's kind of like coronavirus's fault essentially.
Yeah. Which I think is really good, because that's been the one of the concerns, a major concern, rightfully so, for a lot of buyers is everything seems really good right now. It seems like it's still going to be stable, but every day seems to bring a new situation.
Yeah.
So it does protect the buyer in a way that if they are affected, that they can get out of the contract, get their earnest money back. And, if they're affected by the fallout from COVID-19.
And the thing that I'm liking about this is that there's challenges and everyone's kind of like up for the challenge, So a lot of buyers were asking, are the, can I still get an inspection? Can I still get a handyman? Is the title company even going to be open? And so what we've seen so far is absolutely. And
yes. I mean, I just did put a condo under contract, I guess, on Sunday. And one of his biggest concerns is like, do you think we're going to be able to find an inspector? And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure, they work, if they don't work, they don't get paid. So they are, and they're still functioning and working and essential to this process. So I think it was, I don't know that he believed me until I was like, here, call them up yourself. And their schedules are opening up quite a bit. So they're more than happy. So
have you found that the inspector is the inspector going to set any sort of rules, like he doesn't want the buyer to come?
Yes. So now this inspection, he actually had the inspection today, and the inspector sent out an email last night with kind of new, which is new for me, new for everybody, right? But he did kind of outline what some expectations and address the new situation in regards to COVID-19. Okay. So he was asking that minimal people attend the inspection. Sometimes the buyers like to invite their entire family to come look at the property they're getting ready to buy. This one asked specifically that only the most essential people be there. More specifically, just the buyers. He was going to wear gloves, and he asked to maintain that social distancing that the CDC is recommending, about 6 feet. He will be wearing a mask. He was going to bring a mask and gloves for the clients as well.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so we kind of laid it out and said up front, look, so I guess probably take away a lot of the awkwardness of just showing up and going, hey, I'm going to wear this stuff. Can you please wear it too? Sorry,
Yeah.
I know this is a little awkward, but he did actually link to the CDC guidelines and said in response to their guidelines, this is what I'm doing to
That's
protect
great.
myself
the
and protect
buyers are
you.
probably wondering too. That
So they're
wondering
still working. And I know that again was a concern of the buyer. And I said, so he did address it. And, and it was just the inspector and just the one of the buyers actually.
Cool.
So made it very simple. Yeah.
We've always kind of had a company policy, or at least a company best practice, of the agent not going to the inspection, because I feel like that's the buyer's time with the inspector who they're paying, and the agent doesn't really play a role in the inspection process. But hopefully
Correct.
other people will start kind of following that best practice too, and not having the agent at the inspection breathing all over you.
Right. Well, so at this point, it really is minimizing the number of people in a property and that are gathering in a place. So it's addressing it all.
Love it. I know you were traveling recently, Shannon, but remember the other night when the president came out and said that they're lowering the federal fund rate to 0%. I don't know where you were when that was happening, but I think it was called the federal fund rate, whatever it was, some rate, they lowered it to 0%.
Wasn't that last week?
That was last week, I think. And I was sitting there watching the news, but I also was watching, my Facebook at the same time. And it's like, everyone just started going crazy with going, what does this mean? I'll buy a house at 0%, and everyone was going wild. And
yes.
The question that we're getting now is, what's the deal with rates?
Right. And oh yeah. But I think it was even interesting, the lender that's out of our office, and Ryan, who is really great in response to answering our questions. So too, but he popped on right away. I think when you made a comment, I don't know who made the comments on the Facebook page, but he said, hold on, let's see what this really does. And then the next day he popped on and said, it's really not going to do anything in regards to mortgage rate. Right. It doesn't play into the mortgage rate, which I thought was interesting. I was really much in the same plane as everybody else.
Me too.
0%, like, I don't know.
Buy?
Come on, I'm in. Where do we go? Sign me up for something. I don't know what. Just sign me up at 0%.
Yeah, for people watching and kind of wondering what's going on with rates, the deal, from my understanding, is that there was basically one day, I don't know if it was last week or 10 days ago or whatever, but where the rates were crazy low. I think the interest rate on a 15-year mortgage was 2.5%.
Yeah, so it wasn't it a month ago, they were at one of their, or 3 weeks ago. So it was at their all-time low, or one of their all-time historic lows of 3.28.
Mm-hmm.
And the 15-year was under 3, and it has been for a while, even when I checked last week.
Yeah, I got quoted 2.5% on a 15-year.
On a 15-year?
Yeah, but that went away basically that day, and so what they've told me is what happened is that the rates went down so low that banks got so swamped with people
immediately
refinance,
mm-hmm.
couldn't handle it, and so they artificially have raised their rates up a little bit, but they're still really low, in the 3s right now. That's my understanding. Talk to your lender. Don't quote me on that.
I think they're in the 4s.
They're in the 4s now?
They're in the 4s right now. But again, as we were saying, that's now I still think that's really low. As we said before, 4 is really, really low. Let's not forget, when I first bought my house, my rate was 6.5%.
Yeah. It's no 3. It's definitely no 2.5, but it's still pretty
Okay,
good.
but that's a 15-year. So that's not, so let's not get that confused with the typical 30-year mortgage that most people are doing when they buy a house.
Let's not get it confused. You're right.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Totally different.
So, you know, the last kind of topic that I was hoping to talk about today is to any realtors that are listening. And
Mhm.
I think realtors, just like everybody else, is kind of in different states of mind right now. And so what I'm seeing is some realtors, even at our company, I'm seeing different kind of like categories of realtors. Some of them are super connected. They're staying crazy, super informed. They're all about it. They're making their calls. They're doing their stuff, and they're going to be doing really well.
They're reaching out to all the clients, all their clients, and just having that personal conversation of, you know, of what's
Right.
happening, what did they feel, like talking them through the process right now.
Yeah. What we saw in the last recession was that some realtors lost, most of their business, and some realtors gained market share. And
Yes.
so to me, this is a great time for a realtor to do what I'm calling build that bump. And so where they can build a bump in business. But so I think some realtors are getting super engaged with their business. Some, I think, and this is, maybe I shouldn't say this, but here's how I'll say it. Some realtors are occupied with their families, right?
Yes. So to that point, the realtors are, it's easy to pretty much check out, but at the same time, I think that there's a lot of new processes in place, a lot of changes that have come about, right? We're all staying home, the kids' schools are closed, so we are having to find a new normal and a new schedule. And I'm one of those where I'm trying to figure out what that new balance is in keeping things going, because I love real estate and I want to keep going and I love working with my clients. But then trying to figure out where and how to fit into homeschooling for 2 kids as well.
Yeah. Okay. There's another group of realtors who I think maybe have become licensed, or something's causing their mentality to be this way, but maybe they haven't been an agent, or they've been an agent long enough that they've seen success in the last year or two with this great market, but not long enough that they remember even the last recession. And so I think that there's some realtors who are kind of just Netflix and chilling right now, or, drinking beer or whatever. And they're kind of just saying, well, just call me in a month. It'll be easy. This is going to be easy. And then there's I guess would that be a fourth category of agent who's kind of all doom and gloom, and they've talked to a couple of their clients and they're going to wait and stuff, and they're feeling really doom and gloom. And I'm hoping that those agents can, shift their mindset and get into this kind of the first agent that I was talking about. We can call it a growth mindset. We can call it abundance. We can call it whatever you want to, but get productive, And so we're really encouraging realtors to stay productive.
Yeah, and I don't know that I've seen a lot of doom and gloom from the realtors I know, but I think have talked to a lot more.
Well, it's the realtors who you aren't hearing from, and from my perspective, it's the realtors who we're not hearing from, right? The ones who aren't on our daily calls, the ones who aren't checking in with me, the ones who aren't, responding to my invite for a conversation or whatever. That I think some of those ones are the ones who are kind of head in the sand at this point, Let me go through what I'm calling. I got this thing from a guy named Verne Harnish. He's got his 5 C's for dealing with the crisis. And then we're going to.
Oh, who's this Verne guy?
So Verne Harnish is an author. I forget the name of his books. Don't.
I'll have to look him up. I don't think I've read anything.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he's written a lot of really great books. I've used a lot of his stuff in our company's business planning events and that kind of thing.
Oh,
so
I'll check him out. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I've learned something on this podcast too.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through his 5 C's and then answer some questions. It looks like we're getting some questions through the Facebook Live.
Good.
So Verne Harnish's 5 C's. Number 1, communicate daily. So that's, I think, our goal has been communicating daily through the Zoom calls and asking our agents to communicate daily with their clients. Number two is customer and community support. He's saying that one way that you can combat depression, if you have it, is by helping people.
Right, depression from the isolation.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
the doom and gloom that you constantly see on the news.
Yeah, if you get out there and help people, like that's that abundance thing, right? If you like do good things for good people and kind of good things will come back to you kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and you feel a sense of community and part of a community, which is
Okay.
essential.
Number 3 is what he calls clean up and catch up. So the idea is, we've all been really busy for the last couple of years with real estate. And so now's the time to clean up your office, get that big stack of papers cleaned up, clean up your database. We all have this like past clients and friends and family in this like database, whether it's a spreadsheet or a CRM or something like that, that it's like, yeah, I'll get to that. And so now is a good time to get to that, essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Clean up and catch up. Number 4 is cash. So we are encouraging realtors and other business owners to find a way that they can reduce their unnecessary expenses. It's a great time to look through your credit card bill and see what you can get rid of. This is a good time for any business owner, including realtors, to keep up with the government options and private grants that are available. And a big thing I've been hearing on a lot of the entrepreneurial Zoom calls that I've been on is to cash out any line of credit that you have. So if you have a line of credit that's just been sitting there, they're suggesting you pull that money, put it in another bank so that you have the money available should you need it in the upcoming months.
Okay, to cover expenses, bills, mortgage.
Because none of us know when or if the next paycheck is coming, right? A lot of people, this is a lot of entrepreneurs that have been on these calls I've been on. A lot of their businesses have been hit hard and they lost their income and they still have a lot of expenses. And so they need to make it through.
Yeah, I think that yes. So going back to that customer community support is if there's a way to support the small business that you like. I know that we're all, wondering about the paycheck, but I think also just helping each other out is another way to just easily help buy something from that small business. A lot of them have online stores.
Yeah.
And the post office is up and running.
So that along those lines, we've been doing, my wife really kind of is doing her own twist, and it's kind of sponsored by Hermann London, but on this bear hunt thing.
Yes.
So we're
Neighborhood bear hunt.
What's that?
Neighborhood bear hunt.
The neighborhood bear hunt, right? So we're kind of doing our own twist on it. But one of the things that we're thinking about offering is like, for people to submit their photos of them, of the bears they see, or that the bears at their house, or just of their family out having a good time. And then we're going to do some sort of contest, which, like whoever has whichever photo has the most likes, then we're going to give a prize. And normally that my line of thinking for that type of thing would just be like money, right? The best photo gets some money. But because of this whole community thing and all that, the idea that we've come up with so far was instead of just giving money is that we would have Clementine's ice cream delivered to the winner's house. So we can, they can open their door and on their front porch would be like 4 pints of the amazing award-winning Clementine's ice cream.
I think that's super fun.
It's a fun twist, right? And then now you can tell your kid, if your kid's like, I don't want to go for a walk, you're like, you can get ice cream.
We might win ice cream.
Might win ice cream, yeah. So the last C of the 5 C's is what he calls calm and considerate. So I think the message there is just take a deep breath, keep going. We'll get through this, this too shall pass kind of thing. So. And
it is interesting. I mean, how many comments on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and along social media, it's like, even when you're talking to people, like, it's like, yeah, it is crazy, but this will pass. This too shall pass. So it's just like, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But we'll get through it. I mean, it's interesting how positive everybody is considering how you know,
Terrible this all is, really.
wild the situation is, unprecedented in the form of, these stay at home, schools closed. So it's interesting that I think there is some people that are scared to even come out of their homes. But I think the majority of what I see and what I feel is that people are like, okay, all right, well, we just got to figure out how to get through this, but we will get through this and this will pass.
Yeah. I need to, of all the 5 C's, I think that's probably the one I'm maybe failing at the most, because I've taken a really I talked about fight or flight. I've taken a really fight approach. And so here I am in my basement doing a podcast at 5 o'clock. I can hear my family upstairs and it's a gorgeous day, but I've been down here for most of the day, And so I think this,
and I'm sure you've heard my kids a few times because it's just,
yeah, I need to go out and take a walk or something like that,
Well, and I told them after the podcast, we're going out, we'll go ride our scooters and bikes and stuff like that. So I don't know, you might have heard one. It's like, are you done yet? Like,
hopefully you'll go see some bears in some windows.
yeah. Pictures. In every neighborhood it has something a lot of people are putting a lot of things in their windows.
Cool.
To go find.
All right. So let's go through some of these questions we're getting.
Go.
Let's see. Are you guys seeing prices slide with the pandemic, or are they holding steady? My experience at this point has been prices are holding steady, and I'm seeing still multiple offers in a lot of cases. The property that I'm listing, there's a house down the street that was pretty similar, and I was like, well, they're still sitting on the market, and so I don't know what we're going to do about that. But then the next day it went under contract, So I haven't seen prices slide yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we do, but I don't think that I can really say the statistics. We don't have maybe enough data to say that yet.
Well, we certainly don't have enough data to answer that question. But I don't know that I've seen in the last couple of weeks with the offers that we have done, a lot of what people would consider slashing of prices or anything.
Right. Okay. What delays can we expect in the process of selling a home? Typically, it takes 30 days or so to close.
Well, right now, for the property I've put it under contract this weekend, as we've tried to get rolling with the loan, I did put a 30-day close basically. And the lender's like, I don't know if we can meet that. We're so backed up with all these refis. They are hesitant that in the being able to close within 30 days. And I think a lot of lenders are feeling that way. So I'm not sure. Timeframes, I think, are slightly extended right now.
I would say that my perspective is that unless your buyer needs, or seller, I guess, if they really need to sell quick, sell now, I need to move now, I would encourage you to kind of give the deal a little bit of room to breathe and maybe do more like a 60-day closing, 45-day loan commitment, and just kind of give everything a little bit of room to breathe so that
you would go out 60 days.
I would go out as far as 60 days. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stress going on, right? Like you say, the lenders are backed up. We're having a hard time getting occupancy permits and stuff like that. And it just gives everything a little bit of room to breathe and makes things easier. And I'm saying that's in a situation where we don't have to close right now, but we were just talking about the 5th C, calm and consider it. It's like, why not give the deal? I feel like I'm relating it to wine, but why not give the deal a little bit of room to breathe, Shannon?
Yeah, well, yes. And that's probably true. The lenders are backed up because the appraisers are backed up. So it's kind of if you can give it a good 45 days, I guess to 60 days, if the seller will allow it, I think that's probably not a bad idea to just kind of not feel so stressed because there's so much other stress happening right now.
All right, let's compromise on a 45-day closing and a 38 to 40-ish day loan contingency period. Can we compromise on that?
I would agree to that.
It's a deal. All right, let's see. I guess that's the only question. We had a comment that they've seen people putting up lawn decorations for families to see on their walks, Christmas, Halloween, St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, my neighbor put up Christmas lights. We went outside.
So there is a thing in the city that people are going back to, yeah, let's have a little cheer to
Yeah.
this and put up Christmas lights. And like, man, not a bad
Yeah.
idea. I think again, it just goes back to, I think it's so interesting how creative people are getting and how much communities are coming together to try and like the bear hunt, putting up Christmas lights, yard decorations, drive-by birthday parties, where everybody's just driving by and honking because they can't actually
Really?
attend the birthday party any longer. Yes. So because you can't get together, it's not safe, and you can't be in crowds of 10 or more, so I think I think this is a wild time. I know there's a lot of stress. I also think it's super interesting to see what people in their imaginations are doing.
Cool. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. I appreciate everybody who's watching. Thank you, Shannon, for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Thank you, of course, to our producer, Joey Vosevich, for figuring out how to do all this technology stuff for us. And
Hey, Joey, because we are too doing the social distancing.
social
Stay at
distancing.
home.
Thanks, everybody. Hope to hear from you. Give us a call for all your real estate needs.
Yep, we're still in business. We're still
All right,
working.
take care.